Hey everybody, this is Thunder. Haven't done a video in a while, so I thought I'd do one on survival and survival kits. Somebody asked me recently on the Campfire Council, and I never had a chance to reply, so I thought, well, I'll just make a video because it's too extensive to go into writing this stuff out. Survival kits. Well, the first thing I'd recommend is you better read every Tom Brown Jr. book there is. He's the world's foremost tracker. I'm an old tracker, but I haven't written books on that subject. I have written books. So you're going to want to read all his field guides. He's got about 5 of them, and he's even got a city-urban survival. So when we're talking survival, we're talking about, well, where are you going to survive? Are you going to survive in the city? Or are you going to survive in the wilderness or out in nature? Or are you going to go from the city into wilderness or nature? In which case, you'll want to know everything there is to know about surviving in nature. If you're in the city, then it's a whole different ball game. You're going to have to deal with a whole different set of circumstances. Now, if you're going to the nature, if you're going to, out in the wilderness, then you're going to have to know the 4 basic things that you need for survival in the order of importance, and that would be shelter would be number 1, water would be number 2, along with fire to purify the water, and last of all, it would be food, because you can survive the longest without food. You can't survive without water, 3 days. Okay. So that's what you need in the wilderness, and there's different ways to get that, okay, but in the city you need that too, but there's a whole different way to get it. You can't readily get water out of streams and plants and that kind of thing in the city, so you're going to have to follow what he says in the urban survival guide, which is not most people are going to be running around killing each other for water, and there's like 35 to 40, even maybe 50, depending on if it's apartment or not, 100 gallons even, in water heaters all over the city, and people are not even going to think about that, okay? I guarantee you. They'll be out trying to grab bottled waters from stores that have been depleted, and rioting and all that kind of stuff. So it really depends, then you're going to need, you're going to need a firearm in the city, or you should have one actually out in the, in the wilderness too. There's predators out there of natural kinds, and a knife. So it depends, see? It depends on where you're going to be going. Are you going to be bugging out, as the term goes, a bug out bag that you just grab and you're gone to the city? I mean to the wilderness from the city? Is that what you're going to do? In that case, there's all kinds of things that you want to have in that bug out bag that'll help you out in the wilderness, so that you don't have to let's say make fire with a bow drill, which you should know how to do, but you should definitely be able to make fire without a cigarette lighter or a match, okay? And they have flint starters and all kinds of things you can put on a keychain where you can strike it, against any kind of metal, like a metal knife, which you'll have to have. Just strike the knife against this thing and it causes sparks. And then you have your tinder, your little tinder that you get started with a fire, get a fire started. So that's something you're going to want to have, just a little piece of metal it is on a keychain that you can get in any camping store. You're going to want to have a little mini flashlight. I would recommend having that, and maybe some batteries. You're going to want to have a knife. You're going to have maybe a knife like this. Okay, this is a Tom Brown tracker's knife. Again, Tom Brown. And this is the medium version. There's a larger version even. And with this blade here, you can do all kinds of things. You can even chop, which you're going to have to do. Serrated edge. It's just an all-around good knife, Tom Brown's tracker knife, or any kind of hunting knife. Just definitely, you're going to want a knife, okay? Gonna have to have a knife, people, to do all kinds of things. So that'll go in the bug out bag, and then you want a little compass, okay, and make it a good compass. Don't make it one of these Mickey Mouse things you get, although you can get good compasses fairly reasonably. And if you read his books, then you're going to know how to go by which way the sun's rising and setting and the stars and that kind of thing. He's got books on all kinds of herbal plants and what to eat, what not to eat, and trees and terrain and how to get this, how to make deadfalls, how to identify animal and people tracks. He covers a lot of different things: splatter vision, seeing with 360-degree vision, presence awareness, just a whole litany of things, okay? And you're going to need to know all these things, people, when the shit hits the fan, okay, and you're out in wilderness. That's presuming you can get to wilderness in this urban world that we live in, this urbanized, screwed up world. That's assuming you can even get out to the wilderness, good luck. Better start heading that way now, as far as I'm concerned. Another thing you want in your survival bag or your bug out bag is some jute twine, okay, which is it's made from a plant. It's got that it's kind of furry looking, that old brown twine, just twine, okay. Jute twine. Ask for it in the hardware store, and you're going to need parachute cord. And this is used for different things, like the jute twine will be used over and over and over again, the spool of it, for like tying sticks together at the top in a tripod fashion to where you can put it over a fire and hang stuff from it. There's a million things you're going to use jute twine or need twine for, and there's a bunch of things you're going to need parachute cord for: hanging things up over you, helping to make debris huts, just all kinds of things. So you want at least 20 feet of parachute cord, you want jute twine. All this will fit real easy, compactly into a duffel bag or a backpack. There's you're going to want candle, okay? You're going to want a candle so that you can keep fires going. So it'd be nice if you had some candles, and you can seal stuff with there's all kinds of things you can do with candle wax. I can't go into a million different things here. You're going to want containers. You're going to want a cup. You're going to want, this is stuff that you can all put into this put into this duffel bag or backpack, okay? I could go on all day, but what you have to do is you have to use your head. You have to get these books and read all about what you got to do in the wilderness, okay? And then you got to figure out, well, what can I do? What can I put in this pack, to help me sustain my life. Now, a lot of people go into this bit where they stick in all kinds of edible, dried food, and, before you know it, they got 10 duffel bags or backpacks. You want to think more of, how am I going to get food, not what am I going to bring with me? How am I going to get water? You could carry 100 bottles of water. As soon as you run out, unless you know how to find water, unless you know how to make a still, which you can make easily enough by putting, getting in a trash bag, and you can put that real easy in a duffel bag, digging a hole, putting rocks around, holding the trash bag so that it goes down into a funnel that you can put a rock in, and holes at the bottom and condensation. He explains that in the book, and putting a glass underneath. You can get a glass of water just off condensation, okay? You can get water condensation off of plants. There's a bunch of different ways you can get water, and you're going to need water because, like I said before, 3 days is as long as you can survive without water. Um, so when you get a bug out bag, okay, you want to think of all the different little things that he might suggest and watch a different bunch of different videos on the things that you're going to need, the basic things. But you want to be basic. You want to use things that are basic, that are going to blossom into a million different things that you can use that basic thing for. Okay, like you got a knife, so you can use, that's basic, and you can use it for a million different things. You got twine, that's basic, you can use it for a million different things. Sure, you can get twine out in nature. You can use vines and that type of thing and braid them up, and that's also covered in his books. Okay. So basically what we're talking about here is being knowledgeable. Being knowledgeable. And it's really better if you gain the knowledge off of reading these books and then decide for yourself. It's kind of a little test for you. What do I need out in the wilderness? What will I need? What will help me out in the wilderness? How can I learn to do this? How can I learn to do that? How can I learn to make a fire without matches? Even to making a bow drill, which is nothing more than a bent branch with jute twine, okay, and then you put a dowel or a piece of wood in there onto a board, and you work that bow back and forth, twisting this other piece of wood, kind of hard to explain, until you get heat on the two pieces of wood. I'm sure you've seen this in old movies, although they make it look a lot easier than it is, because you have to have tinder down there, and you have to blow in the right way. And to get this tinder, it might take you 2 days to learn how to do that. 2-3 days. Might take you a week before you get it right. You don't want to leave that till like when you're out in the wilderness. So that's why I suggested getting something like that striker, which will last you 1,000 times striking things, By that time you'll learn how to make a fire. There's other things that you can put in the pack too, like you could use tarps. You can use a tarp for covering yourself, a waterproof tarp that you can buy at Amazon or any place for $11 or whatever. You want to think about things like that, even though you should know how to make a debris hut. In the short term, you're going to want to cover yourself up, okay, or put it down as a bed to keep water from coming in. Now, if you really want to get fancy, if you really want to carry a little bit more, depending on what kind of vehicle you have, or if you're on foot or whatever, then they have sleeping bags, okay, that can compact down into real small. They have pup tents. They have all kinds of things. Now, do you want to go that route, or do you want to depend more on your smarts to find and make shelter? And you can even, it's unbelievable what a debris hut will do, and I'll describe that just briefly here. But in making a debris hut, on one end you get a branch, okay, with a fork in it, and then you put another branch going down like a spine to the ground, and then you lay branches on the side of that so that you have a crawl space in there underneath it, and then you take leaves and all kinds of debris and just pile it on and on and on and on over the top of these branches. And then you can crawl into the debris hut, and pull leaves in there to insulate yourself. And people have survived in like 40 degree below with the debris hut. And the right kind of fire, knowing how to build a fire so that the rocks on one side of it are reflecting the heat you make them higher to reflect the heat into the debris hut. And it's like you're in your condo, baby. So you can survive very easily in the wilderness. The biggest thing is looking at the wilderness and nature as your friend, not your enemy. Okay? People go out and they panic. They get out and oh my God, I don't have running water. I can't turn on the light. Where am I going to take a dump? They go through all kinds of changes. Truth be known, once you get out there, living's a lot easier than it is in the city. Okay, you become dependent on other people in the city, and when you get into nature, it's totally you, baby, in nature. So you better get a good relationship going real quick. Okay. So do some research, people, on what different people recommend for. I'm sure Tom Brown recommends a certain set of things, and there's a source that I go to on the internet, several sources. I think one of them's called Groundhog Leatherworks, Hedgehog Leatherworks, and he has a ton of videos on all kinds of things that you want to put in a bug out bag. Okay. And he's from Tom Brown's school, so he keeps it pretty basic. But you could end up having 40, 50 different little things. He goes into little containers that you can have, and like I say, candles and jute twine and parachute cord and tarps, fold up tarps, and that's the way you want to think when you want to think survival kits. You don't want to think like first aid. Yeah, it's good to have a little first aid kit too, come to think of it. But again, some of these commercial people, get tons of dried food and bottled water, and how are you going to carry all that shit? You're not. And it's going to run out. So you better learn how to survive without that, okay? Yeah, you can take a few of those things along to keep you going, until you learn, until you become acclimated, so to speak. Now, I've mostly been talking about nature here, but when you're in the city, then it's a whole nother story. Again, you should read all of Tom Brown's books on urban survival, because there's all kinds of things like, like I said about the water heaters and the water in the water heaters, and if you're in a freezing climate and electricity goes out, you can take mattresses inside your house or your apartment and actually make a cocoon by putting them up against the wall in one room. There's all kinds of ways to insulate yourself. You can even sandwich yourself between two mattresses. I mean, there's there's another million different things that you will want to do in an urban setting where you can't get to the wilderness and everybody's running around like goons. You better have a firearm. You better have some defense. You better learn how to team up and buddy up with other people. If you're caught in the city, it's going to be horrific, people. Very horrific. I can't stress that enough. You better be ready for, Mad Max plus the zombie apocalypse, if you're going to be in the cities. Because it's going to be bad, okay? And people, this isn't going to be something that's going to be gradual. It's not going to be a gradual thing. You're going to have to think like a Native American. You're going to have to think like a mountain man. You're going to have to think like a trapper. You're going to have to think like a warrior. You're going to have to think, okay? And not panic. That's the most important thing. So in the city, or let's say even out in the suburban areas, there's things that you can do, like when the electricity goes out, you can have a backup generator, but then you're going to need fuel, and you might not be able to get fuel. So you better learn how to do without electricity, and you better learn how to do without the water coming out of the tap, and you better learn how to where you're going to get your food. Okay. Now in the city, if you don't plan on going out to the wilderness, it's a good idea. Have a whole friggin' closet full of dried food and this food and canned food. I recommend that highly in the city. I'm talking about when you go in the wilderness, you can't carry that shit with you. You're going to have to learn how to be a supreme tracker, and you should be practicing all of this stuff right now. You should know it. I go out to the park and I'm in the city right now, and I go out to the park and I formulate in my mind, okay, what would I do if I have to come out here and live? And I've already got a camping space picked out, and I even got some stuff set up out there that nobody can even see right in the park, in a heavy wooded area of the park, that I could go to, a place to stash firearms, wherever, whatever. So that they're not seeing how to camouflage yourself. That's another thing that you want to learn how to do, is how to camouflage yourself. That's a fun thing to do. If you're trying to keep a low profile, you don't go out and get a bright orange tent, dude. No, you get a get a cami tent. You get something that looks like leaves or something, so that you can blend in and not be seen too much, okay? So this is more about a mindset. It's more about a mindset. It's more about what are you thinking? How, think things out. Think, plan ahead, okay? Plan ahead, just like if there was an earthquake, you would plan for that, or if there was a hurricane, you would know where there's or a tornado, you would know where there was a basement or a shelter that you could go to. You should know, okay? So I'm covering a lot of ground here. I'm just kind of throwing a lot of stuff at you. You can rewind the video, and but you have to find resources on the internet while you have the internet. Also, a nice little thing to have too, this is just a personal preference, this isn't something, because I'm into this and I've been getting back into it lately, is maybe a little shortwave radio, transistor shortwave radio, that you can listen to see if anybody else has survived, and if they're giving any kind of emergency information. And on those little shortwave radios, you have weather radio, okay, telling you about inclement weather, and you should know the Morse code so you can signal, okay, with lights and that type of thing. Everybody knows SOS, dit 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 da 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 dit dit dit. That's Morse code for SOS. There's just all kinds of things that you should know, and excuse me, that you should know, and that you can make it fun, okay? Make it fun now while you can, okay? My advice to you is to make it fun while you can, because when you get out there, it'll be a lot easier than you getting out there. It isn't going to be fun if you don't know what you're doing, okay? If you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to be fun. You're going to be panicking, and you're going to be in a sweat, and you're going to be worried. But if you think about all this stuff first and practice it even right in your own backyard, and learn how to make a bow drill and rub two pieces of wood together to make a fire, it's a lot of fun, and you feel a lot better. Whoa, I don't need matches anymore. Learn how to find water. Learn which plants have water. Learn how to make a little still with a garbage bag and a cup, and practice it, and do it at your backyard, and learn the stars, and learn a little bit about astronomy, and get back into what the natives did, okay, before the white man ever came here, when they relied totally on nature and the animals. Just watching animals will tell you where water is sometimes, and food. And you should know all kinds of different animals, and you might have to catch some of them for food, okay? be sure and be reverent about it and ask for their spirit. But you might have to do that, okay? And in fact, you probably will. So I guess I'll leave it there today. I think I've got the general thought that I wanted to get across. You know, I might not have covered everything that you need in a survival kit, and I'm sure I didn't. You know, but that's something you should research and you should do on your own, okay? And decide, again, you want to decide whether it's going to be urban survival or nature survival, okay? Urban or nature, okay? Some things that apply to urban don't apply to nature, and some things that apply to nature don't apply to urban, but there's some things that apply to both, like defense. It's another thing you should know, self-defense. And, you know, other things, you know, bandanas, hats, you know, fold-up hats, boonie hats. And this is all fun, people. This is all can be fun to you. It should be a fun thing, not, oh my God, what do I need? I got to get a kit together. And you know, you'll go off and again, you'll see some of these people trying to sell you stuff on the internet. Here's the ultimate survival kit. 20,000 packets of dried food. Forget it, okay? Do the research yourself. Figure out how you're going to make your own food, your own water, your own survival. And like I say, if you want to you know what you should really do is, like, if you're thinking like you want stuff like sleeping bags and pup tents, and research it and find out which ones are waterproof, which ones are camouflage, which ones are you can fold down into as little as space as possible. That's the kind of thing you're going to want to research on that account, okay? And yes, I've seen homeless people live in. And maybe they're not homeless. Maybe they got their shit together. But I've seen people walking around with their boonie hat on and their backpack full of all the things they need, and a little rolled up sleeping bag, and maybe even a tent, which can be really thin. It's just a covering to keep the elements off. All just walking around, you know. And they got their hiking boots on and their walking stick, and they're good to go. Those are the kind of people that are going to survive, even in an urban environment. They'll just go to the park and go, yeah, I've been here a long time, and I know where. You can even get water out of old drinking fountains that they've closed down at the park, you know, and just get a way to bash that pipe open or whatever. Gonna have to do all kinds of things, people. But have fun with it and think about what you want to do, and do some research. Tom Brown Jr. Read all of his books, and any other person. I mention him because he's always been kind of a mentor to me through his books and through his stories about him and all kinds of things. And the stuff that I didn't learn when I was a kid, I learned from him, okay? And I learned as I grew older. So you're going to need to know all this stuff. So I guess I'll leave it there today. Think about survival, and think about urban and interurban and suburban and natural things. Have a plan as to what you're going to do if you are going to bug out, which routes you're going to take, how you're going to get out of town, what kind of vehicle you're going to use, what kind of resistance you might run into, what kind of rioting or panicking or out of their gourd individuals that you're going to run into. Don't wait till the last minute. That's all I got to say. And time is approaching quickly to where you don't have a lot of time, in my estimation. I would look at it as you don't have any time, okay, and make that your priority. Okay, this is Thunder. I'm out of here. Have a good one.